Mitch is, yeah, Mike's next.
Yeah, Mike's my dad. Hello, nice to meet you.
The order might be different for anyone, so
yeah.
I go with Peter with the names.
Yeah.
Okay, the young man is Mitch, and Mike, who you can't see yet, is
Mitch's father.
Mitch's dad.
Yeah, I'm just going to call in and see how he's going. The bug is probably swearing. Right, 1 sec.
All right, well, let's start this meeting with integrity. Well, we can't even do that now because we're already 2 minutes over. So,
You start.
You'll deal with that. Okay, great. Well, look, welcome. Welcome. I'll start with, can you bring the agenda up on your screen, please? Some house rules, basic protocol on any Zoom calls, you know that. If you've got a loud noise in the background or whatever, please mute yourself. Or if your phone's ringing, you know, mute yourself. And generally, if you're not speaking, mute yourself. But even currently, I'm not getting any feedback, so it's fine, everyone. So that's that. And yeah, PB, you know, view and vision for the future. Well, it's pretty well spelt out. In fact, I put it, I'm going to go to my, first time I've used this feature, so I'll just go to my desktop, share screen. So what is my vision? Well, my vision is an incredible expedition of fun, contribution and adventure, you know, adventure with purpose. Beatrice and I have always found that if you have a purpose towards the adventure, it just makes it so much more meaningful. And exactly what I wrote down here, I stand by and mean. Our purpose, each participant, adventurer will leave the expedition having had an incredible and enjoyable experience from the moment they register for the trip. You'll be inspired by the beauty of the Arctic scenery and wildlife. That's a given. It's just incredible. And that you have discovered some new insights and capabilities, physically, intellectually, emotionally, which enables you to take on new challenges in life. It's so important to me. And I'll just draw your attention as I'm speaking to you now, the agenda that I sent to you an hour ago, because that's what I'll be referring to. And I'm allowed 10 minutes for this first section here. So, you know, for me, you know, Jerome, you haven't met me before, but those that know me very well, including my daughter, you know, the physical trip itself is amazing. That's given. I promise you it'll be incredible from the highest perspective. What I've always found that lives with you forever, goes beyond the immediate trip itself, are what you learn about yourself. You know, T.S. Eliot, there's a great poem that I always love quoting, which is, I shall not cease from exploration, and the end of all of my exploring shall be to arrive where I started and to know the place for the first time. So for me, I really want you to come away from this whole experience, including the coronavirus experience, having discovered something about yourself that you will never forget, and that it enriches you in your life and those that you that follow you. So that's really, really big part of my life that I really want you to get out of this trip. It's not just a trip, which will be amazing in its own right. And I want you to have some first-hand impact of climate change. I mean, I first went to the Arctic back in 1998, and you know, I first went to the Antarctic in 1997. So for me, you know, I've been back to Antarctica probably 15 times since then, and each year I go back down there, I see the peninsula getting more and more exposed. So I want you to get a first-hand impact of the global change, so that, you know, as you come back into your civilized society, which no doubt will be changed as a result of what the world's experiencing, you know, if there's a calling upon you to do something about it, you feel more informed to do something about it. And above all, and including, I want you to have a friendship that lasts with you for a lifetime. Okay, that's my vision. Now, I'll speak now, as per the agenda. I want to speak with you about living beyond the current circumstances, and I have some really first-hand experiences in this, and as I'm sure you do too. And I'll just, you know, just draw to your attention for me. So, I mean, Peter Lustig and Liv, I know you know this story, but I'll just share this story quickly with you. Yeah, what's Ian saying?
I think we need to accept them.
Oh, accepting. Oh, hang on a second. How can I not accept them? Sorry, gang. Somebody wants to be accepted into the call.
Ian.
How do I know that? Sorry, gang.
Go back to
I'm just going to escape, guys, for a second.
I think go on the participants section, maybe that'll pop up.
Yeah, but there shouldn't be a need for accepting someone. So you have 5. Well, I don't know. I've never accepted one to assume. It's always open.
Maybe the way I set it up it required that.
That's okay. I'll talk to Ian on here.
Can you bring him in? Accept him in there? Or,
I'll do it. I'll just reset.
Oh, he hadn't got the link. Is that what's going on? Oh, that's not no issue. Yeah. Okay. So look, just within here, guys, I get it about us all having our dreams about a particular trip on a certain date. In this case, you know, the 21st of September, 2020. I had also had a trip this year to go to Molokai, paddling in a race I've been training for a year and a half, and you know, it got cancelled. I get that. Another example I have in my life is back in 1997, I had my heart set on going to the North Magnetic Pole. I'd been to the South Magnetic Pole in 1996, and I'd met some incredible adventurers, and they invited me to go to the North, and I was all set to do it, and I was training for it, and I was tying a tyre on the beach here in Melbourne in Albert Park, and bang, the next thing I know, you know, I'm in Royal Melbourne Hospital going, what the hell happened? Now, when I was in that state there, as you see me in that photo, I was so depressed and so upset because for me, and I'm sharing everything I'm saying about when I say I'm really referring to you, because I get that you might have your heart set on a particular date, as I had my heart set on a particular date, which was to go to the North Magnetic Pole that year. And I was really upset and depressed, and I went back up to the farm to Eldersley, and I was moping around. Now, back then I reached out to my mentor from the South trip, and I reached out to him. I said, you know, this has happened and I've got to pull out and all the rest of it. And back then the trip cost me $28,000 to go to the Arctic when I did it. Managed participant.
Yeah, so
Evan, admit. Yeah.
And also Ian can get in. Ian, Ian. Great. Perfect.
Done. Hello, Ian. Hello, Evan.
Hello.
Hello.
I'm here.
G'day, Ian. How you going?
Very well, thank you, Peter.
Could we just leave now? Could we just go now already? I mean, what's all this fooling around waiting until September? I don't want to do that. Let's go now.
Well, that's what I'm about. So all I wanted to say
One way to isolate.
Right. So why are we on this photo, Evan? The reason we're on this photo here is simply to say this.
I'm on a call.
I've had my
Airfares would probably be pretty cheap right now too.
That's right.
Yeah, exactly.
Right now. So look, all I can say, the reason I'm showing you this and opening up is when the circumstances are looking dire, sometimes it can be for the betterment overall. So in my case, of course, we turned it into an experience, you know, where I became an ambassador to the National Heart Foundation. So we switched the focus from me going on the trip to the Arctic to all of a sudden me becoming an ambassador for the Heart Foundation. And, you know the story. I went to the Arctic a year later than I expected, and I went as an ambassador for the National Heart Foundation and raised money. The point of me sharing this with you, as my wife reminds me that this entire section is to go for 10 minutes, is simply to say to you, I know that there is challenges being set upon us right now, and if we can keep our mind and heart set upon the end result that we seek, then we will achieve that, we will get there, and it'll be better for the obstacles that we've overcome in getting there. Okay? Have I made my point? Yes? Yes. I put in there in the agenda there, I said, do others have examples of times when they've had their heart set on something and it didn't go their way, but the outcome was different, possibly better, because of the obstacles they overcame? Over to the floor.
When I was doing house athletics and I fell off a bike and cut my heel, it was a week before I had house athletics, and I sobbed at the doctor's in the waiting room because they told me I couldn't do house athletics. But then I had more fun because I was cheering on my friends.
Thank you, Liz.
Well, I know you'll find this hard to believe, but when I first met my now wife, she thought I was a nerd. And I had to overcome this listening. I mean, I don't know why she thought that. Just that I was in college and I was wearing a bow tie and a suit. I don't know what could have given her that impression, but never mind. I had to overcome that already existing listening that I enrolled her in. So it's taken about 37 years and I'm almost there.
You're almost there. I don't often
Well, once a nerd, you're always a nerd, Evan. Sorry, mate.
I don't often see you in a boat.
You're muted.
I was muted, yeah. You wouldn't be in your current position if you were not a nerd. So.
Hey, I resemble that.
Yeah.
Hey, Ian Davies, are you in the call, Ian? No,
He was.
He was, and
Why is
somehow
he in waiting? What's that mean? All right.
he's disappeared.
That's what I was getting. It wouldn't let me in, so.
Okay. No worries.
I think there's a default setting sometimes with these calls that there's a waiting room that you go to, and then the host has to
I think we need to just.
How do I get to the waiting room?
actually.
All right.
Not sure.
Here we are. He's back in.
You're back in, Ian. Hey, Ian. You got your mate.
Got him.
Good. Ian, you're in. Right.
Oh, good. Yeah. Thank you.
Okay, so fantastic. So let's have a chat about a thing called C19. There's been a bit of media about it. It's had some impact, including the Olympics, I hear. Is that right?
Mm-hmm.
They've
Postponed for a year.
Yeah, so it doesn't get much bigger than that, does it?
They've made the decision. They just haven't announced it yet.
Yeah. Well, they stopped the Melbourne Grand Prix. That's pretty big. Right, so the current impact. So in communication with the boat operators, Oceanwide Expeditions, I'll actually bring up on the screen the last communication I've got on that. Sorry, supporting document. So, hi Peter, can you, you can't see my screen right now, can you?
No, see you.
Okay. So, hello Peter. Everyone is worried about their trips. Foremost, those who travel or intend to travel in March and April. We adapt our programs along current regulations. Speaking here is the current situation. The Norwegian travel restrictions and the 14-day quarantine, respectively, are in place till 14th of April. We are dealing with our March to April 2020 departures right now, which will be postponed, owed to the new situation. Affected passengers will be offered alternative travel solutions. If your clients are not booked on any March or April trips, we kindly ask you to be patient until we have further news. Early April, latest on the 14th of April, we will be in a position to make statements regarding the summer season. For now, please note that our May to September 2020 voyages are still on schedule and business is continuing, bracket, despite the difficult times we are facing. End of bracket. Do not stop your booking process. Needless to say, we will monitor the developments in Norway and act accordingly to official regulations shall they come into swing for the summer. Please stay alert for further notifications and updates from our site. Okay, so any questions around that?
Nope.
Any questions?
Nothing new, eh?
Nothing new? No?
Well, there's two scenarios really, Peter.
Yep.
One is we or they will cancel, and the other is we or they won't.
That's right.
If they do, I don't know who's made airline bookings, but generally the airlines are allowing people to reschedule flights without penalties. If you haven't made your booking, I suspect that once travel is back on the agenda, flights rather than being cheaper might actually be more expensive because every dog and his man would have put their flights off. So who knows? You know, I don't think it's worth making a booking at this point though.
No, I'd agree with that. For the gain you might have in a cheap flight.
Say it again?
Well, as you say, for the marginal gain you might have in buying a cheap flight, the risk isn't worth it. I agree.
And I don't think the issue is the flight. The issue is, are we allowed to travel in September? I think.
That's right.
I think that's the main question.
Yeah.
Agreed.
Which brings us to the topic of what's called force de mesure, and I'll bring up to that what we say about that. So, you know, 0.53 under terms and conditions, general travel. Notwithstanding to what is mentioned elsewhere, Ocean-wide Expeditions has the right in the case of force de majeure, such as, but not limited to, war, uprising, natural disasters, abnormal, exceptional weather and ice conditions, legal stipulations of the local regional authorities, and other events and situations that are beyond the control of Ocean-wide, to cancel the trip. We will not be held liable for the force de majeure, and if in situations of the force de majeure occurs before departure date, payments made in advance will be paid back to the contracting parties. If situations occur during the trip, then you know you have an alternative program. But in our case, if it were to happen, it would happen prior to, and all funds would be refunded.
The way you read that, Peter, it sounded like it was a force majeure for the other side, not for us.
That's right. Yeah, that's right. Exactly right. Yeah. Well, there is no such thing as us having a force de majeure, as it were. I mean, it's the operator, and if they can't provide the service, then we get our money back.
Sure. So the thing that occurs to me is they might want the business, understandably, because otherwise their business goes downhill. Would they be making a responsible call if they don't call it off, or if they do call it on?
Well, I think the way it'll be in the world by then is it'll be outside any independent controller's operator, any individual operator's control. It'll be a governmental level call, I'd say.
Yeah. And that would presumably be the government of Norway, so we need to be reasonably au fait with what they're doing.
Yeah, and I'll continue to update you. Every update I get, or everything we research to find out, I'll continue to update that. Is that working for you guys if I just put those updates through the WhatsApp group?
Sounds good. Thank you.
No worries at all. Oh yeah, okay. So again, you know, let's say so that's on the scenario of 2020 going ahead as planned. Great. So far we've discussed being pertinent. You'd hold back on your booking your flights, you know, and unless you had some policy with the airline that allows you to, you know, in your case you couldn't use it, get your money back. You want to be careful about that. Now let's say that doesn't go ahead. Let's just say it doesn't go ahead. What are our alternatives? Well, B, we've got things like, for instance, there's always 2021. Just for my own example, I was doing the Molokai Ocean Race in May this year. It got cancelled, and after a year and a half of training, you know, me and the other 20 guys I was doing it with, we've all just gone, you know what, 2021. So that's what we're doing. Now, if this happens to us, then I guess one option that we've got, if it were to happen, is we can go 2021. And if that were to happen, I do have tentatively, I already had it in place tentatively, dates, if it came to that, the dates of 20 to 27 September 2021 are the dates that I've got aside for the same vessel. And that's also in school holidays in Australia's time zone. And it's also,
Peter, that doesn't really work if Collingwood's in the grand final, mate.
but what are the chances of that? There's no chances of
It'll never happen.
never.
It'll never happen.
Never's an awfully long time.
I think this year, Pedalistic, is the best year for Collingwood.
Say it again?
This is the best year for Collingwood.
Yeah, well, we're second on the ladder already, you know.
And the season's been called up, so you're doing well.
You have to excuse these Australians. It's this AFL religion thing. I've been studying it as an archaeologist for 12 years. I don't know.
Thank you.
I just wanted to ask Ian.
Anthropologist, Evan, not archaeologist.
Well, whatever.
Hey, Ian, where's Margaret? Do you know, on the call?
Yeah, look, Peter, I will apologise. I just spoke to Margaret 5 minutes ago. She was feeling very unwell, and she had to shoot off to the toilet, sort of a vomitous thing.
Ah,
That's a good word, isn't it? Vomitous. So hopefully she'll join in a few minutes, but I just don't know.
no worries.
Apologies at this point.
Just wanted to check. Okay, great. Now, another alternative, if it came to that, would be an Australian trip at the same time, September, school holidays in 2020. Doesn't work for you, Jeroen, but works for others. So that's just something we might consider. And my personal preference would be something awesome and incredible down in Wilson's Prom and Gippsland Lakes, including horses and beaches and hiking and yachts and all the things that I love doing with people. So I'm just floating that. That's another thing that could happen. And when it's your turn to speak to these points, you know, I'd be interested in your view on that. BB, how
Peter, can I just butt in here?
Yes.
Have I got the floor? I've got the floor
right now.
Yeah. Okay. Margaret and I have been talking, obviously, about nothing else for a long time now. Without being doom and gloom, we virtually decided that we're going to give this away this year. And I like the idea of what you're saying about 2021. But Margaret sort of is at the front of this all the time with her job, as you'll probably be aware. We just don't believe in any circumstance that this can be cleared and for us to be safe in 3 or 4 months' time. So we just don't think that we will be making the trip this year.
Okay.
Plain and simple. That. I don't want to be negative, but that's where we're seeing it from this point.
Okay, no worries. Well, that's fine. We're not currently seeing that, but that's okay, and I respect that. And we can talk offline about, you know, what we can do about that, whether we go to, you know, 2021 or whatever else, for sure.
Yeah. Okay. All right.
Thank you.
We would talk to you about that. Yeah. Okay.
Terrific. Thanks, Ian. Okay. So let's meet the team. Hey, B. We would love to meet the team. Now, so in the order that I laid out there, which starts with Ian, we would love to hear, you know, tell us a little about you. What have you say yes to the trip? What you would love to get out of the trip? And what would be of service to you from us between now and departure date? And your response to anything that's been discussed thus far in the call. Okay?
Yeah,
so,
okay, but it's me, wasn't it? It was me, yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, Peter, going back, golly, when was it, 2005? No, later than that. We went on the Antarctica trip with you and still speak about that and have wonderful memories of that trip. We gained a lot of personal self-esteem and building from that. So we hope to get the same thing again. It's just something, you know, we're sort of adventure seekers to an extent. We're not as young as we were then, but we're still able to get about. So we just hope that we will get, we want to see something different that nobody else not many other people in the world have seen. And that's what we did in Antarctica. And yeah, we're looking for that sort of adventure again. So that was our reason for joining.
Okay, great. And what would you love to get out of the trip? Whether you do it this year or next year, what would you love to get out of it?
Just a lot of memories. We've still got some friends from that Antarctica trip. You know, we still correspond with a few of those. You know, I think it's just a character building thing. We're still at that stage of our life where we're looking for those adventures, and yeah, that's where we are. We want to get that out of it again. Beautiful,
beautiful. And how can we be of service to you and Margaret between now and departure date, whenever that may be?
Yeah, just keep us informed about any developments. We got your list this morning of requirements for the trip, as in clothing and so on. Just things like that, anything that we should be preparing for. Yeah, I don't know apart from that. That's probably about it.
Okay, great. Good. Righto. Well, any suggestions about anything we've said so far in the call? That's some others as well.
No, it's lovely to see. It's great to put a face to the names that we've got. Yeah, I think that's the biggest benefit I'm getting out of this call, just to meet everybody and say hello, and yeah, so that's a huge thing. But yeah, no, nothing else really.
Beautiful.
I have a question for Ian. What do you do in daily life, so we get a little bit more to know about who you are?
The isolation that we've been put under hasn't affected my life at all. That's what I do. Now, I've retired. We retired about 2 years. Well, I retired about 2 years ago. Margaret's still finding reasons to go back to work, but that's of her choice. She's away at work at the moment on a mine site in remote Western Australia. But yeah, I've retired and just enjoying life in a little seaside village off the coast of Western Australia and loving every bit of it.
Nice.
So I'm embarrassed to say that my life hasn't changed a lot from the isolation policies that are put in place.
Where's the seaside village?
In Jurien Bay, it's about 200 kilometres north of Perth on the coast.
Ah.
Between Perth and Geraldton then.
Almost exactly halfway, mate. Yeah.
Yeah.
Aha. Okay, beautiful. Well, thank you. Peter Lustig.
Yeah, well, hi. What do you want to know? Who I am? I want to know that too.
I want to know about
Ian,
that.
you said, say it again.
I want to know about that beard.
What about it?
Well, I want to know what's
My daughter plats it from time to time, you know, and you know, that's my pirate side coming out.
Ah.
You know, when I'm not being a pirate, I'm a lawyer and mediator and a collaborative practitioner, you know, which is a process of having people who are in disputes get together without stepping into an adversarial setting, which is what most courts are.
Yep.
What else? Why am I on this trip? It sort of came around at a time when I'd fallen in love with Evan, and he was going, and I thought, wow, what a good idea. And it just so happened that I was recently not coupled any longer, and I also figured I'd have the money as well. So, and my life had sort of changed hugely. I thought, well, what better time to go on an adventure than now? So, and to be honest, I've wanted to get down to Antarctica for about, I don't know, 40, 50 years or so. And so this is maybe second best, but you know, it's a good start. So there we are.
The wrong direction.
Yeah.
No, it's the right direction. You just got to keep on going, you know. What else? What were your other questions? Is there anything I want to ask about? Not really.
What could we do to be of service to you?
Just what you're doing. That's all right. There's nothing more at this point.
Good. How frequent a communication and so forth in terms of even Zoom calls?
I don't particularly like WhatsApp, especially for forwarding documents. So I would have preferred to get it by email. Like if I want to print the list out, I've got to send it to myself by email and then I can print it. So stuff like those lists, I think I'd prefer by email so I can just print directly.
Yep.
But other than that, a few more people would be good.
Yep.
And look, you know, I'd be pretty happy to go to 2021 as well if this year becomes a little bit too much in terms of risk or uncertainty even. But either way, you know, I'm just going with the flow at this point.
Right, that's great. And what else do we have on this list here? Oh, just your response. I think you were maybe said, but you know, any response to anything covered so far in the call. But any suggestions at all?
I suppose in terms of the gear, if you've got any contacts and we could go to them and sort of buy in bulk, that might be an idea.
So I will send you, Jerome, do you have Kathmandu in the Netherlands?
Yes, we have.
Okay, great. I'll send you a link that'll give you 60% off retail on some items.
That's 60?
60, yeah.
Wow.
I mean, it varies some item, you know how it is sometimes, but some items you get up to 60% off. I will set up an account for this group and I will send you that link. Okay.
Okay. One other suggestion. I don't know. I think it's recording this Zoom call, is it?
Yes.
It is, yeah, good. Because I thought particularly for other people who join us, it would be a really good way to catch up, quite apart from helping you write the book later.
You know, funny you should say that.
And then Ian also mentioned that, you know, his last trip with you was, I think he said 2005, but
I think we're about 2000. It was the summer of 08 going into 09, wasn't it, Ian?
Yeah, I thought maybe 07, but yeah, it wasn't 05. It was later than that. Yeah, about 07 or 09. I'm not sure now.
yeah, well, you also said that you've gotten a bit older since then, and sadly, you know, the same has happened to me. You know, every single day it seems to be that I'm another day older. But, you know, if you find something to the contrary, please let me know.
No, I've been looking at
Peter, yeah, Peter, I'm also a bit concerned that I'm going to be in need of a knee replacement, and of course, non-elective surgery now has been cancelled everywhere. So I don't know how mobile I'm going to be. I can still get around, but with a bit of pain. So,
Oh, come on. Every pirate ship has to have a peg leg.
okay, well, that'll be me. That'll be me.
Well, and I will give you some hope. In the 2014 trip to the Antarctic, wasn't it? B and I were running a boot camp up at the farm there, and I'm hobbling out of the farmhouse to go back to the green stables where all the participants were staying. And as I hobbled along, I'll let her say it because it sounds better. What did you say about, like, literally, I had my weight on her shoulder, dragging my left leg. And what did you say?
Olivia may remember this,
Yeah.
but I was carrying him.
I don't.
No, but I did say, you probably will say it better than I did, but I said something like, I can't remember.
No, this is your moment to shine, to make you look good. You're supposed to say.
I'm supposed to say that I would rather have you with one leg, like I felt secure that you were taking me to Antarctica. It was my first time there, but I'm probably not delivering.
You said something like, I would feel safer in the Antarctica with you with one leg than any other man in the world with two legs.
Okay, there was a little bit of embellishment for those who know him.
Oh, that's so unusual. I'm so surprised that there would be embellishment.
That's so out of character.
Or something, you know?
But Ian,
It's amazing how you remember it
you were
perfectly,
attracted to
Peter,
him at
word
the
for
time.
word.
Were you attracted to him at the time, Beatrice?
I was working on it.
Yeah. But Ian, the reason she brought this topic up is because I said, right, bang, let's do it. So on the 24th of October,
2 months before departure.
Yeah, a bit less than if you do the maths as I'm about to tell you. On the 24th of October 2014, I went in, bang, had a new hip put in, complete new hip, chop out the femur and the acetabulum, all chopped out. And on the 14th of December, we were ice climbing in Antarctica. So if elective surgery gets back on the schedule, don't worry. You can be back up and running in cross-country.
And Pete will give you some exercises to do, because he's very good at recovery. He knows how to recover.
Okay.
Well, this is true to everybody. You know why I know how to recover so well? You've got your mind on the end outcome. You've got your North Pole, you've got your South Pole, you've got your Arctic trip, you've got your outcome. You know what? All these illnesses that the world suffers from, they're all psychosomatic. So if you have your focus on the outcome beyond your circumstances, you'll rise above the circumstances every time.
All right, we've got 25 minutes.
No, we're going jolly well on our agenda.
Let's hear from our lovely gentleman
Hello, yes.
The Netherlands. Let's hear from the Netherlands.
Let's hear from the Netherlands. It sounds like the Eurovision Song Festival. 12 points. Huh? Yeah.
Are you going to sing us a song?
No. That's not one of my skills. In daily life, I'm a project leader with local governments, mainly in IT, but I'm trained as an interaction designer. So how do people use technology? So that's always the starting point, and then technology comes second or third. Mm-hmm. And next to that, I really love to make photographs. I'm a teacher. I don't practice it, but I'm a teacher in healing Tao, which is a mix between Chinese medicine, Tai Chi, meditation, mm-hmm. Which comes very well to get down the adrenaline levels at this moment. Mm-hmm. I'm married for well, together with my wife for 6 years, 6.5 years. Very happy with that. Why do I join this call? Oh, well, because I'm already thinking a couple of years, thinking how do I meet Evan again? Because I think the last time we met was 2008, I think.
Yeah.
We have done several courses together. He's a dear friend. And right around the time I was thinking, so I have some plans of going next year to Japan, and I was thinking maybe I extend it to fly to Australia and see Evan. I got an email like, I'm going to the North Pole or to Antarctica. I don't know even what he said. I was like, oh, and he asked, do you want to join? I was already a yes without, I gasped. Someone was around me like, oh, what's happening? So basically that made me book. I like unreasonable things. And in a way, the trip is unreasonable, but my life is so well that all the other things are not unreasonable. So I've learned that I can deal with these kind of stuff. Well, what I would like to get about this trip, well, is friendship, the experience, nice pictures. I'm already thinking, what kind of gear do I need to bring? That's immediately, and what could be of service for me between now and the trip? And that's in line with what you said, Peter, and I also said it in the WhatsApp. I'm not that interested in the conversation about Corona, because that will happen or not. What I'm interested in, what will be the challenge for the week, what will bring at us, and living and looking into that future. I think that's the real value for me. Maybe it's a pipe dream, not being in the daily shit, but that I think that will be good. One of the things which will get us, maybe it was even in this call, I don't know, but one of the things will get us mentally out of it is focusing on positive things. And for me, at least, this is a positive thing.
Absolutely.
Then thinking about this year or next year, well, for me, it appears like it should be this year, because after this, anything which will be, how do you say, extended to next year, I would like to reschedule, recalibrate next year. So, and of course, if the formal agreement is that it is moved, and that, well, then maybe. But my preference would be, if we don't make it this year, to have a refund and rethink it, participation, re-register in a way, and have that make a deliberate choice instead of like gliding into the next, create it instead of that it overcomes me.
I just thought of a step in between, by the way, when you said that, and of course that's an option, of course. There is a step between Arctic this year and Arctic next year, which actually slips in perfectly with Peter Lustig's point, is the Antarctic. Maybe we can get a small charter for, and the season goes as late as March. So, we'll just see where the C19 world is by then, but maybe we could, get our funds and then apply it with ocean-wide expeditions down to the Antarctic.
But that would be for me also be in the creation of something new.
Yeah.
So if it doesn't happen this year, I would say for the point where I am currently, it needs to be completed, and then something new can be created. Well, that's the gist of it. There's much more to say about it, but that's the gist for me.
Okay.
Well, I think that's everything. If I looked at the gear list, I was thinking, is that all? There's not enough to buy. I was thinking most of it I have, so that's a little bit disappointing.
You really need a snowmobile.
Yeah, or some
husky.
Yeah.
Husky.
Yeah.
No, I'm really looking forward to it, and there's a lot between now and then, but we will see. Yeah.
I think we'll talk. You know how a lot of people who are on a bike trip together, or even my paddling group, we're all on Strava, and we're all like comparing. Oh, you did 2 kilometers and you did 20 kilometers. So maybe we should create a Strava group amongst us, and we compare who's training and who's doing what. Getting fit as a competition between us. Competition's always good.
I did 6Ks this morning.
What's that, mate?
I did 6Ks this morning.
There you go. There's pedalistic right at the top.
Running.
Me too, but in the car. Mine was in the car.
Righto. Well, let's go over to your good buddy and conveyor of the trip to you, Evan.
Thank you, thank you. We have this game we play in our family, and we do it fairly regularly, and that's called "Who do you think would make the best pirate captain?" and you know what we do is we kind of survey all of the people that we know and say, yeah, Pete Lustig, he'd be a pretty good pirate captain, or you know, Jeroen, he should definitely be a pirate captain, or so that's kind of the strategy I've had. It's like as soon as Pete Bland showed me the picture of the Norderlicht, I was in. I mean, you know, the opportunity to be on a tall ship with a man who can actually operate a what's that thing? Where you take sightings with?
A sextant?
A sextant.
A hell?
A sextant, thank you. They can actually operate a sextant. I was like, yeah, I'm going there. That's fine. And then the next thing for me, because I can't help myself, is I began to look at, you know, who do I want to be on this beautiful vessel in this beautiful part of the world with? And Jeroen, you'll be interested in this. One of the other people who I thought would make a good pirate captain is Mary Kay. So she's on my list of invitees. So I've got lots of you know, I'm playing a game to have a bunch of this ship populated with great pirate captains, and so far it's going pretty well.
I also sent out an email to John Baker.
Oh, fantastic!
You speak.
Yeah. So that's one answer. You may pick up what I'm married 37 years. I don't know if that's accurate, but it's something like that. I've got 2 adult kids, and I'm a professional troublemaker. And I'm now learning how to make trouble as effectively online as I do in person, because a lot of my work has traditionally been flying interstate, and not doing so much of that at the moment.
How is that? I mean, so when I say troublemaker, he's a professional facilitator. How is the facilitation via Zoom going?
You know, it's really interesting. I think there are all kinds of opportunities now, because people are trying to figure out how to lead and still bring humanity into these virtual platforms. And I don't think, for the most part, my experience in business is people aren't that great at bringing humanity even when they're together. They do it informally, but in terms of doing it formally, the agendas, that's a challenge. It mostly happens on the margins, and so to do that intentionally, to bring the kind of humanity and the connection and the caring, is really what motivates people, is a skill that I hope we can translate from the real to the virtual. So that's, you know, my colleagues and I are at work on that. And we've also, given that we've got a performance focus, I just also want to say we're also working with a couple of big biotech firms in the United States to accelerate inoculations and vaccines. You know, they're currently saying 18 months is as fast as we could possibly get these out the door, and we say to that, bullshit. So anyway, that's kind of what I do professionally. Applicationally, I'm an adventurer, and I met Peter and Beatrice many years ago, and when I walked into Peter's barn, he was pulling a Dutch oven full of lamb out of a fire that had all kinds of crazy modifications, and before I knew it, we were pulling a sofa up onto the second floor of the barn in preparation for some group of Chinese, somebody that was coming. I don't know what was going on, but anyway, Peter and I have had a lot of adventures together, and the opportunity to go into an area where you know well, and have led expeditions is, you know, that's the other reason that was yes for me. I also figured that I needed to sort of Balance the hair equation, since the 3 of you are all sort of wearing the same sort of style. Okay, that was uncalled for. Sorry about that.
Jealousy is a terrible thing, Evan.
What's that?
Jealousy is a terrible thing.
Yeah,
You want
it's
to get over
true.
it.
It's true. It's true. It's true. It's true. So I'm optimistic that my friend Mary Kay, my buddy Rupert, my dear friend Amma, maybe Ali and Michael Roberts will also be filling out our pirate crew. I'd say the other thing that actually I'm anticipating is on my first date with my wife, she was then my girlfriend, the one that thought I was a nerd. She told me stories of living in the Arctic Circle and having, watching polar bears walk through her town and the kinds of experiences that she had with Inupiat people up in Point Barrow, Alaska. So being on the land in Spitsbergen and in a village where people are living in that kind of environment and that kind of close to the land, I'm learning more and more that the indigenous knowledge is something that we've just got to pull into modern life. And so being in a village is one thing I want to do. I don't know what that looks like or where that is on the Spitsbergen Peninsula, but sailing the tall masted ship. I don't want to hit any icebergs, but I'd like to come close. And being with you, Jeroen, as you frame up the kinds of pictures that I know that you'll be shooting is that already fills me with joy as well. So I don't know if I answered any of your questions, but I did. I think I said a few things there.
How can we have been best service to you between now and departure?
I liked what Pete said. I think WhatsApp is great for communication. I don't know, it's so best for transmission of information. Of documents and data and whatnot. Witness my inability to find the data for the call, for example.
I don't.
But also, I want to talk about. One of the things that could be of service is actually us beginning to design from, look at maps and design from what are we going to be doing and how does that look? And I don't know. I'd like it's not an astrolabe. I want to call it an astrolabe. What is it? A sextant. I'd like a sextant lesson. There are things that my adventure repertoire needs. So that I don't know. Those are the things that pop to mind.
Teach you how to navigate with a sextant and the Northern Lights, the Polaris.
Yeah, and wearing those the British flag boxer shorts in the snow. Maybe that'd be a lesson that you could provide as well.
I'm not sure the body will look as good as them, but anyway. Good. Noted. Right. Anything else, Evan?
Nope.
Olivia Bland, over to you, my love.
Hello. Main reason why I'm interested in this trip is because I'd like to see the Arctic before it melts. I'm studying human rights and journalism at the moment at uni. So I just want to focus all of my photographic energy onto this trip, take as many photos as possible, research polar bears and the influence of climate change on the icebergs, and make my own sort of blogs and journal articles and stuff. I just want to get into the practice of doing that because I want to be a photojournalist already, but I have to go to uni. So I want to do this trip as a version of being a photojournalist. It's about it, really. Everything's good with WhatsApp, and that sort of communication works for me. And I've got Dad, clearly, to give me all the information. So that's about it. Any questions at all? I don't know.
To say it's the first time I've
You have a free choice to join.
Oh yeah, I dyed my hair V.
She's no longer
Pardon?
blonde. You were
I'm no longer blonde. Yes.
There you go. Well, thank you, darling. Any questions?
Pleasure.
From the floor?
Wait. Are you going to call all of us darling?
No. Just that
Yeah.
And maybe this one.
And this one.
All right.
All right. Any questions to Olivia from the floor? No.
No.
Going on. My beautiful Beatrice, otherwise known within the WhatsApp group as my lover, because that's what I saved her phone number as. So that's Beatrice. One and the same. Darling, over to you. Tell me a little bit about you.
I'm sorry.
Don't you know?
No, I'm finding out rapidly.
Well, I'm Beatrice. I get called B quite a lot, or BB. Married to Peter
Long time.
2 years, maybe. Can't quite remember. Liv, 2 years?
I thought it was 3 years.
Maybe going on to third
2
year.
years.
I think it's 3.
2 plus 3.
Yeah.
When I met Peter, I come from an island. I come from the island in the tropics. I'd love to take you all to Mauritius, but he likes to take people to the ice. But I do remember, Antarctica and the Arctic has always been on my bucket list. I'm a keen photographer as well. I love taking photographs. I love writing, and I guess what I wanted to share with you guys. Obviously I'm married to Peter, and it's a bucket list thing for me. But just really wanted to share a memory of walking on the ice in the Antarctic. So we did a few different things there. We ice climbed, we kayaked, with whales.
B, I'm sorry to interrupt, but can you either speak louder or maybe move closer to the mic?
Can you hear
please?
me now? Is that better?
Try it again.
Can you hear me now?
Better, yes. Thank you.
Sorry, we probably shouldn't share we were debating about being on 2 different rooms, but anyway, I guess what I wanted to share was the amazing journey that I had in the Antarctic. I've never been anywhere else as close as that in the world, where you got your snowshoes on, there's nothing around you. It's completely surreal, just walking strapped to someone in front of you and someone at the back of you, knowing that you're crossing crevasses. I always remember thinking, this is what the world was like before we ruined it. And it was just so magical. It was, I can't, Ian probably, who's been to Antarctica, can relate to this. It just takes you to a place where, I don't know, anything is possible. So apart from the obvious things that I love to take photographs and love to support Peter in his adventures and supporting everyone here as well and other guests that will come, I want to experience that again. I really want to, experience that magic again, which was pretty surreal. That's kind of really all I have to say.
Okay, beautiful.
Yeah.
And particularly, this is a question from me to her. How can I serve you best with
I won't answer that just yet.
Okay,
great. Yeah. Okay.
Some feedback from the floor. Now, why has Evan entered the waiting room?
He's you got to admit anything. Just admit it.
I'm trying, but the mouse won't go.
Sorry, Evan has just disappeared.
Now, I'm just going to admit Evan back in the room. Okay, good. Back in the room. Evan, good. Got you back, Evan. Great. Well, that's fantastic. Back to the agenda. Inviting.
What about Mitch?
Oh, Mitch. Well, Mitch. Yeah. Why would you? Now, Mitch hasn't joined us yet, but he and his father would like to join us. Now, Mitch, why would you like to join us?
Hey everyone, thanks for having me on. It's really nice to see you all. I met Peter and B a couple of weeks ago at a course that we were doing, and I'm also really I grew up in far north Queensland, live in Melbourne now, but adventure is like a crucial part of my life, and also for my dad. He still lives up in North Queensland. He tried to be on this call but couldn't figure out how to make it work. But yeah, like he's not getting any younger. He's in his early 70s. So I want to do a big adventure, and I really enjoy being humbled by landscapes. And I can't think of a better one to experience that in than the Arctic. And I want to experience a big one with my dad as well while he's still physically able and believes that he can. So yeah, it was like at the idea of going, a massive yes immediately. Logistically, got some things that we need to work out to get across the line, but a lot of energy and enthusiasm for it, and I will be staying tuned.
Okay, right.
But did I actually answer your question? I started talking, but yeah.
Did you have a question?
Being humbled by the landscape will stick with me, Mitch. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Peter, let's stick your hand up.
Yeah, that's my way of saying I agree.
Oh.
Thanks, mate.
Beautiful, beautiful. Great. Mitch, anything else, Mitch?
I really loved hearing from you, Evan, as well. I'm a facilitator, maybe a little bit earlier on the track, but spend my working life when it's not interrupted by a pandemic, working at a place called the Man Cave. We're running like mental and emotional health workshops for boys at high school. So obviously can't get into schools at the moment, and also in that figuring out what that looks like online. But yeah, I just really enjoy this group of people.
Oh, you'd know Jarman Heppel then.
He does.
I arrived just after he stepped back. I know Hunter really well.
Got you.
But yeah.
So Mitch, Peter Lustig is former chairman of
Mankind Project Australia.
what's that?
Of what, sorry?
Mankind Project Australia.
Mankind for Australia.
Oh, amazing.
So are you
Cool.
still chairman or I'm not sure. Peter Lustig?
Sorry, say that again.
Are you still chairing Man Cave?
Not Mankind.
I'm sorry, Mankind projects for Mankind.
Mankind Project Australia. Yeah.
Are you still chairperson for that?
No, I did my 6 years, so
That's
that
right.
was enough.
So Mitch, there's another sort of contact for you in that world of workshops and facilitation and men's workshops. Okay, next point on the agenda in the time remaining is inviting others. So look, absolutely happy to take deposits from people who may wish to still to come on the trip for sure. All I'd say on that is to be responsible is, yes, we can happily receive $1,285 US, which is the kind of the deposit on our normal template, as it were, but no more. We won't take any more money from anybody. It's just, you can have that as a holding deposit, and you can spread this to others who might want to come, and that'll sit there as a secured deposit for their spot is secured from being in the trip. And if for any reason the trip can't go ahead, then 100% of that money goes back to them. And I would also advise those friends of yours that want to come is not to book their flights. Even if it's cheap, I would just wait until it's really confirmed that the trip can go ahead. Any feedback on that?
Peter, we've already booked our flights, booked and paid for first class, which we've never done before. So that's a little bit of our concern too, that we want to start the process of getting that back if we can on our insurance. So, we're a little bit worried about the whole thing. A lot of money being spent on airfares already.
I get that. And you guys were going to London or doing a whole European trip.
Exactly. Yeah, we were going to do a UK trip for 28 days beforehand. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, we can talk about that, offline. How's best to approach that. And then finally, BB, just the gear list. Any questions around the gear list?
Maybe next time.
Or we can talk next time. Yeah. Any immediate questions around the gear list? No, Evan's
I haven't read it yet.
Okay, cool. It's incredibly simple, and Jeroen was saying, it's how simple it is, or not much to it. And there's not much to it. The gear nowadays is so good. It's all about layering. So if you have your layering right, and Ian, who has just left the call, we'll speak to this. That's the gear list that we use in Antarctica, which is colder than the Arctic, where we're going. And all you need to do is layer up. Ian, do you remember our trip from the Antarctic and the gear that we took on that?
Well, I do, but I haven't got a list if you're asking me that. We might not have all of that gear now. That was a long time ago. we'll have to check all that. Yeah.
Anyway, the point is, if you just have a layering system, beginning, I'll just bring it up on the screen so you can see it quickly. I'll just bring it up just quickly. What are you saying, Olivia? Bring up the list or not? I'll finish on time. So that's the gear list. Can you see that? Yeah, they can see that. I think. Can you see that, guys?
Yep, can see that.
Yeah.
So you've all been sent that. I'll just go through it in 1 minute. Just, you know, shell pants are good. When I say ply, that's the layers between. So obviously Gore-Tex, because it's breathable. A lot of you guys would have this already. You know, fleece that comes in weights. They don't really make 300 weight now, but a heavy 200 weight is fine. The reason you want 100 weight top and bottom is that's like your tracksuit pants that you wear more often in and around the boat. I find those really good for that. And going out for days trudging on the ice, I often wear just a thermal, 100 weight, and my weather jacket outside of that. Thermals, top and bottom, your personal preference, whether you want to go merino or polypropylene. I prefer merino. It doesn't smell. Cotton tees for sleeping in. The reason I say 2 pairs of fleece gloves is often you'll be handling something, maybe a drink or something, who knows, or picking up some ice on your doorknob. If it gets wet and you bring it back inside your cabin where it's warm, then it melts and you've got wet gloves. So I always believe in taking 2 pairs of inner gloves and 1 pair of Gore-Tex outer gloves or mitt. It's your preference. Beatrice might roll her eyes, but I only ever travel with 2 pairs of jocks and 2 pairs of socks. That's all I ever need. And I wash today's pair in the basin and hang it up next to the heater, and it's dry the next day. But that's personal preference. 2 pairs of socks are good. Inner sock and an outer sock. The reason you have an inner sock is that the outer sock can rub against it rather than rubbing against your skin. Neck warmer. No need for a beanie because we'll be providing you with a beanie. Head torches are always good, even though you'll be a lot of sunlight there. Good quality sunglasses with polarized for looking through the sea. Hiking shoes, good lace up. You don't need Scarmers or Garmont boots, just a good pair of sturdy lace up boots that lace up above your ankle. Gaiters are optional. You don't have to have, if you have a good pair of outer weather pants, often they have inbuilt gaiters with that kind of a skirt inside your calf muscle. That acts as a gaiter. So if you've got that, you don't need gaiters. Comfortable shoes for wearing down below and, you know, walking around town maybe. If you're in Oslo, maybe before we get to the ice. Ugg boots. Ugg boots are really awesome. You can either have your kind of your normal, you know, heavyweight Ugg boots, but if you go to Kathmandu, they sell these micro Ugg boots, which are really comfortable and lightweight.
They're so ugly.
What's that?
I said they're so ugly.
Yeah, they're ugly, but that's okay.
We will look good
We'll
together.
look together, yeah. And a day pack, you know, 30 to 50 litre is adequate. You don't need a big 60 litre pack for this. Just a little day pack with you can put things inside. Now, you guys with your expensive cameras and so forth, I always believe in keeping your gear inside a pack rather than having things dingling and dangling on the outside. That's dangerous and things can fall off. So I recommend that your pack has the capacity to carry all your lenses and so forth inside itself. And a collapsible hiking stick are good because, you know, it's easier for packing in your bag rather than having this, you know, this walking stick that's 1.4 meters long. You want something that can collapse, like it's telescopic. Okay, so that's that.
Can you say something about what would be the temperature around that time?
Well, it won't be too bad. I mean, it'll probably be even in the, you know, the positives, you know, 2 to 5 degrees sort of thing. Won't be too bad because you're next to the ocean, you know, and as you might know, the salt water has a lower freezing temperature than fresh water. So salt water freezes at -1, but if you're in around the ocean, it never gets that cold. It's really the wind chill that's the factor.
Yeah, I was last year in Patagonia and I was fairly overdressed because it was warm, basically.
Yeah.
Much warmer than I expected. Yeah, okay.
And the world's getting warmer, as you may have heard.
Yeah.
Hey, gang, I'm going to have to drop off. I've got a meeting with my
Wait.
gardening crew.
Just, when do you want to
So when would you like
Love
the
to
next
see
call?
you.
When would you like the next call? 2 weeks or 1 month?
1 month.
1 month?
1 month.
Sounds good.
1 month? Done. Any questions, call me, text me, email me, no problem. WhatsApp me, us, we're here for you, okay?
Can we do a checkout as well, please, Peter?
Check out.
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. In fact, Peter Lustig, would you lead us in that checking out?
Sure. Just wanted to say thank you. I thought this has been a really lovely opportunity. It's actually spicing up the anticipation for me. So I'm out with appreciation and gratitude to all of you. I hope.
Thank you.
Peter, I'll go next.
Yes, Ian.
Yeah, thanks for the opportunity. So again, apologies for Margaret. So I've been messaging her while we've been talking, and she's not that well. So she's apologised again for not being here. Yeah, thanks for the opportunity. We look forward to seeing you all in a month.
No worries. And tell Margaret we've recorded this call, and I'll make that call available to her and to all.
Good one. Good one. Thank you.
Well, thank you all. It was very nice to meet you. It's nice that we find a time which works for all of us. If it would be more convenient for you to do it an hour later, since I'm home confined, I can do an hour later also, would also work for me. So
Okay.
you can look at that, Peter. If we get back to normal, this would be better for me, but anyway, I can make it work. So
Either way.
great.
Yeah, great, thank you. Liv?
Nice to meet you. All sounds good. Very excited.
Thank you. Mitch?
Yeah, very grateful for being invited to jump on. And if I was excited before, like off the charts. So let's just make it happen.
All right, beautiful. And my wife?
I'm like Peter Lustig. I'm actually getting really excited now.
Yeah.
And I really like what Jaron said earlier. You know, let's keep focused on 2020. Let's just see what happens.
Yeah, let's be end result.
Let's create like a really awesome, magical, extraordinary trip. You know, we all get to kind of create it the way that we want to create it. So I'm excited.
I'm with you all. We have the capacity within all of us to create this the way we want it to roll out. So let's keep our vision and our end result on an awesome experience for all of us in 2020. Thank you.
And a check out from you too, Peter.
What's that, Peter Lustig?
Check out from you as well.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. You know, thank you for all being on this call. I acknowledge you all for being in there. And I really want to acknowledge each and every one of you being so awesome around the whole C19. None of you are, you know, panicking or doing, you know, crazy calls or anything. You're all like being really pragmatic and practical about it all. And it's really, I want you to know it's really appreciated from this end, okay? So thank you for being on the call.
Thank you. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you for sharing this vision.
Yo.
Bye. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.